Hannah Solomon was 14 years old when she developed a holy frustration. While waiting at a traffic light with her dad in Atlanta, Hannah saw a black Mercedes coupe on one side of the street and a homeless man begging for food on the other. Hannah turned to her father and said, "Dad, if that man over there had a less nice car, then that man over there could have a meal." Hannah's father thought about it and replied, "Hannah, if we had a less nice car, that man over there could have a meal." This conversation overflowed out of their car ride and spilled onto their dining room table that evening. And Hannah's mother became a little bit frustrated at her daughter's insistence that they make big changes to help those in need and kind of said sarcastically, "What do you want to do, sell our house?" To which Hannah replied, "Yes, that's exactly what I want to do." Hannah's family was currently living in the dream home for which her mother and father had been saving for years. It was a beautiful $1.5 million home. But Hannah was persistent, and after several months of conversations, Hannah's family decided to sell their home and move into a home half the size and half the price. Then they took half of the earnings from the sale of their home, around $800,000, and built an entire village center in Ghana, Africa, providing medical treatment and schooling for the entire village. Hannah didn't want to be the kind of person who sat around wishing she could do something to help others. She wanted to make a difference, and she did. Hannah said, "For us, the house was just something we could live without. Everyone has too much of something, whether it's time, talents, or treasure. Everyone has their own half of something to give. They just have to find it." That statement is truer than Hannah probably realizes. God has given each of us all the time, the talents, and the treasures that we need to bless others in the ways that God has uniquely created each of us to do in this world. But doing this requires learning how to make our business God's business. We often think that our time, our talents, our treasures are our own business to do with as we please. But in reality, we're only stewards of these things. God is the business owner. He gives us time, talents, and treasures to manage in such a way that they bring glory to Him and blessing to those around us as we also enjoy them. Therefore, an important question for each of us to ask ourselves is, how am I managing the time and talents and treasures that God has given to me in this life? I'm so glad you joined us for today's show, because we're going to see how this question transformed the way one man was running his company when God challenged him to run his business like it truly was God's business. You're watching One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring hope and purpose to many. Let's meet our guest for today. We're here with Hal Mante, owner of American Fence and Flag, to talk about how we can make our business God's business. Hal, it's so great to have you here. I don't know how many years I've known you now, but just knowing you as a friend, serving with you as an elder at the church I was a pastor at, and then now you being involved in the men's ministry that I'm doing with Priority One. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, well, it's been fun to work for you, and I've always been blessed by having you as a friend also, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Mm-hmm. And as we start, I want you to just share with our guests a little bit about your story so they can kind of hear about your relationship with Jesus.
Sure. You know, I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a Presbyterian minister, and so I grew up going to church all the time, and there wasn't any swaying from that. And when I left home to go out on my own, I left church too. And wasn't until my 30s that I started showing an interest in it again, but it came from an unusual way.
Yeah.
I was out at a business conference out in LA. We live here in Bethlehem at the time. I flew out there to a motivational speaker and to get me charged up for my business. And the man's name was Jim Rohn. And he got up there, and at the end of his talk, he was saying there's the 3 most important books in the world and made a difference in my life. And the first one he said was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I said, I read that. I know that book. I read it. I know all about it. And he said, the second book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I said, hey, I read that book too.
2 for 2.
Yeah, there's 10,000 people there. They're all charged up. He's given a motivational talk. And he said, but the most important book is a book that will lay out your business. You'll understand it. It'll talk about thieves. It'll talk about honesty. It'll talk the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do. It'll talk about weights and measures. And you'll just hear so much abundance of information. I'm thinking, what the heck is this book?
I want to know.
I want this book. And then he says, you know that book? And everybody's like, yeah, what's the book? And he said, it's the Bible. And I'm there, huh?
Wait a minute.
And I said, wait a minute, I know that book. And then he started talking about it. And he just said the importance of walking with God. And that night, I went back to my motel room and dug around the drawers of the dresser and found the Gideon Bible.
Wow.
And little did I know that it was, it was 11 o'clock at night in California. I was so excited, I called my wife, not thinking it was 2 o'clock in the morning there, and then all suddenly telling her what I found out.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the Bible, and she kind of said, what?
What? And why are you telling me now?
I tell you, it's 2 o'clock in the morning now. But I was excited, and it wasn't a lightning journey for me, but it started me on a path.
Wow. Well, so born in a Christian home, but you had to go to LA in your 30s
Yes.
for God to really grab a hold of your heart.
Yes.
Wow. And tell me, so you were in business at the time.
Yes.
American Fence and Flag. Tell me, how long have you been in the fence business?
So I've been in the fence business for 50 years.
Okay.
And I started American Fence and Flag 41 years ago.
41.
We're located in Whitehall, and it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah. And how long were you in business before you kind of made a transition to say, my business is really God's business and there's some changes that need to happen?
Yeah, so that would have been about 25 years ago.
Okay.
So we were about 15 years into our business. And, it came through, again, an unusual way. I had left my Christian faith in my 20s and early 30s, just not being interested in it. And then running my business, we ran it in an honest way. We ran it with good principles and morals, the Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar way,
Yes.
and getting lots of coaching and from all secular people. But then I came across a guy named Larry Burkett.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called Money Matters. And I said, well, that money matters to me. Might as well read it. Little did I know again that he was going to take me down a Christian path.
Yeah.
He fooled me on the cover with that Money Matters point.
I love it. I love it. That's great. And how much God's used different strategic ways to reach you through this conference, through the book. Hal, I'm excited to learn more. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to hear more about how God transformed Hal's business into his business.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
Welcome back to One Day Closer. We're here with Hal Mante, learning how to turn our business into God's business. So Hal, we've been talking about how God has reached into your life and kind of grabbed hold of your heart. And now we're moving into how he's kind of grabbing hold of your business as well. So, and I know, you're a believer, so having your own business is just really easy, right?
It's been a challenge, So, being self-employed isn't as easy as people think. They have a dream, they go after it. Most businesses fail in the first year to two to 3 years.
Wow.
And we're in our 41st year now.
Wow, praise God.
But we've worked hard at it, and it's not easy. We've had a lot of bumps, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and they're the same as a Christian business as they are in just a secular business.
I mean, you still have problems, even though you're a Christian in business?
Still have problems.
Come on.
They're probably sharper.
yeah, right? Now you have the evil one working against you. And I know you've experienced, as you'd shared, a lawsuit that almost was you felt like you were going to have to close your doors. Mm-hmm. But thank God he kind of spoke to you through that. So as you saw this Larry Burkett book, Money Matters, you kind of got grabbed into it. You thought money matters to me, but he was teaching you that there's more than money that matters. What did you learn from that book?
So I learned he had another book.
Okay.
So Money Matters was all about how you run your personal life, and about how to budget and how to look at how to spend your money, and that it's God's money and we're stewards of it. But then he had a little trick sentence in there saying, there's another good book if you happen to be in business for yourself called Business by the Book. Okay. And I thought, Business by the Book, that sounds good. Wasn't thinking what book he was talking about. But I went and got that book and read it, and I love to go to conferences, and I love learning in that manner. So I found out the next Business by the Book conference was in Maryland, and I jumped right on in my car, drove down to Maryland, had a 2-day business seminar on how to run your business by the book. Yeah. And Larry Burkett taught it through cassettes.
Okay, cassette. What are those?
Yes, little cassettes we put in, and
rectangular things.
I'd listen to them and go over and over again. But it really talked about business principles, but running them in a Christian way. The principles a lot of the principles are the same, but it was looking at it in kind of a God's perspective to say, how do we glorify God in our business? And that's a question I've always asked myself. But when I took the conference, Business by the Book, I knew there was something more there. And I knew there was a message I had to get to people. It just got in me and said, there's people that have to know this message. Yeah. And we were in Maryland. It was a nice crowd there. And I thought, whoa, I could fill a stadium with this. I always think big.
Yeah, that's good. I love that about
I'll get
you.
Hundreds and hundreds of
thousands.
people.
Why hundreds?
Thousands to learn what I'm learning here, because everybody will want to know this.
They should. And you went through, maybe it wasn't thousands, but you used through your church, through your business, you hosted some of these seminars to encourage other business owners. I know you love to share what you're learning that can help others. And so I love, you talked about the question you always ask yourself about your business and how it's led you on such a great trajectory of honoring God. What's that question?
Right. So it is, will it glorify God and be true to His word? True
to His word.
And even though I say that, we don't make every decision that way.
Really?
No. A lot of them are, made on the run.
Yep.
And yet the disciplines we've gotten keep us kind of on a good road. And it's a hard road, because we have customers that are mad at us, and that doesn't always work out the way their vision was. And my vision.
You never get mad back.
No,
right? Because Jesus wouldn't. Oh, wait, maybe He does.
Yeah. But it has calmed me down. It taught me to, before I got home, to take a walk and leave my business at home, at work, and not at the dinner table. And I heard a coach one time said, I always touched a bush and left my anger on that bush as I walked by it, and the bush died.
That's going to ask.
And Joyce, my wife, always knew. We always ate together. That was an important thing, whether I got home at 7 o'clock, 7:30, whatever it is, because you work a lot of time and you work on people's schedules, not my own. And she always knew I needed 15, 20 minutes leaving the business, and there was a nice trail that was around our home that I could go walk on at the park and just kind of decompress. And I'm not saying I was walking that trail praying. Sometimes I was walking that trail just so frustrated.
Just angry.
But I know that God's presence has been with me. And I don't always let Him there. But He's there for me. And we've had some tough times.
Yeah.
And, we've been on the doorsteps of hell a couple of times. And I think those times have been brought up, and I've survived those times because of my faith.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's hard in a business. And then just even, I love the wisdom of just managing your time, because that's of God, and then leaving your work where it is. That's hard to do, especially when it's your own business, because it's a lot more personal. I've heard someone say, don't litter your living room floor with the garbage from your workday. And I think that's powerful. And so I love how you were just even managing your time that way. Now let's talk about finances. So in your business, you did something pretty radical when God decided to show you, this is my business, not yours, Hal, and I want you to do something different. What was that?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Larry Burkett, that we were listening to and following his guidance on how to run your business by the book, how to make money matters in your life, God's money, and how you're stewards of it. Joyce and I didn't know about tithing. What's tithing?
Okay.
Why would we do that?
Yeah.
And it hit us like lightning. Larry Burkett gave an example of why you should tithe, and it hit both of us. And we instantly, personally, started to tithe. That was easy. That we said, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. We'll start right now and go forward and start tithing. Said 10%, that's what we do. Then we started thinking that, wait a minute, our business is God's business. Shouldn't we be tithing there?
Wow.
Until I looked at 10% of gross sales. It was more than I was even making. That wasn't going to work. So over time, we were kind of playing around with that to see how it would work. And we ended up coming up with a formula. It was 1% of our sales. That's what we do. And then, we said, well, the 10%'s got to get in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So we ended up saying, well, then we'll take 10% of our profit.
Yeah.
And then it was 2% of our sales and 10% of our profit. And we've had a successful business.
Yeah.
We've done very well. We've been blessed in lots of ways. And we've been able to bless a lot of community outreaches. A tremendous amount of them are local Christian organizations. We support a number of family organizations outside the Lehigh Valley, but we're really focused on Christian businesses that make a difference in the community.
Yes.
And we've had a select list, because what happens when you do give, there's lots of people on your doorstep asking. So we've kind of cut it down to say, here's 15 to 18 organizations that we support strongly. But I know as a business person, it's sometimes hard to see on the dollar amount that we've given away, but it's never affected us.
Yeah, that's amazing how.
And what happened personally when we started tithing, then we were told, well, what about what you've earned in the past? And I kind of thought,
no one thinks that. I've never heard of anybody thinking about that.
That wasn't God's money then. We're talking God's money was year 25.
It's forgiven pre-Jesus. You don't need to worry about that.
This doesn't make sense. But, Joyce and I started talking about it and said, you know what? We should back tithe. And
that's radical.
It was radical, and it took a lot of hard work to make that work. But again, we've been blessed. I can't say that we've been blessed because we've been obedient, because there have been tough times. We thought we'd lose the business. At times you want to walk away from it, saying, I can't take this customer anymore. I mean, you're beating me up, and we did a good job for you. And it's funny, my daughter and her husband now are looking at transitioning into our business. And she's seeing a different light of it. And when you said before about leaving it, people, it's hard to leave it at home. She said to me the other night, when we're really having a problem with a particular customer, she said, do you go through this all the time? And I said, well, we don't have one like this every year usually. This is a big one. You get once in every 5 years, you get a big one that you got to really work through. But it made me think that we sheltered her from that. you know. But in the same time, she went on vacation with somebody one day, and she couldn't understand why they weren't stopping and taking pictures of fences. And she said, when she got home, she said, "Dad, they went by all these beautiful fences and we didn't stop and take pictures of them," because that's something we do all the time. And she was a little girl then, and she couldn't understand.
She couldn't understand how fences were so big.
We definitely involved our family in our business. Our daughter's been in the business since birth almost.
Yeah.
But we didn't drag them into the dirt. You know, they were aware of the challenges, but I always felt like, you know, home life was one thing, business was the other.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that, Hal. This has been so great. I can't believe we're out of time. But thank you for sharing. And I know a lot of it, you didn't want to always share some of the numbers and stuff, but I think it's really powerful that you did that. And I appreciate that you were honest about, man, really making radical choices, not to be boastful, but to just say how you honor the Lord with your business. And even just taking your business to go help out with Hurricane Sandy, using your business that way. The times you've told me about the different courses, Christian courses you've offered for your employees. So I love it. And I think it's encouragement to me, and I trust those who are watching. So thank you, Hal.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We're going to come back and look at how we can apply this to our lives and make our business God's business.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
I love what the Apostle Paul teaches in 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19. He writes, "Teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up their treasure as a good foundation for the future." Paul is specifically addressing material wealth in this passage, but if you're a follower of Jesus living in the United States, you're rich in this world. The average American has more material wealth than most others in the world. And in addition, God has lavished the riches of His glory and grace upon you and has newly created you to do the good works He prepared for you before the world was even created. Your business isn't just your business. It's God's business. Whatever time, talents, and treasures God has given you in this life, He's done it so that you would use it in such a way that the light of God's goodness and greatness in your life would light up the lives of those around you. So how are you managing the time, talents, and treasures God has given you in this life? No matter how you viewed and used your earthly time, talents, and treasures yesterday, tomorrow is a new day. It's a blank page with nothing yet written on it. When the sun rises on a new day tomorrow, what story of generous stewardship are you going to be writing with your one day closer to eternity? Here are some steps that you can take today to begin generously using what God's given you for His purposes tomorrow. First, identify your time, talents, and treasures. Get a piece of paper and a pen, make 3 categories, ask God to show you the things He's blessed you with, and write them in those categories. Second, ask God how you can begin to share one of those aspects of time, talents, or treasures in a way that only makes sense if God exists. Third, ask God how you can enjoy more fully one of the things God has blessed you with. I love that the Apostle Paul says that God blesses us with things so that we can enjoy them. And fourth, thank God for everything that He has given you. I just gave you the perfect answer to that question. How do you do the things? What do you do with the stuff God's given you? You set it before Him, share it, enjoy it, and thank God for it. Thank you so much for joining us for One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring Jesus-infused hope and purpose to many.